The last 3 years have been nothing short of a cinematic saga for the Indian edtech industry. COVID-19 did something that even Jio could not. It moved traditional education online and brought the Indian edtech industry ahead by years. For some companies, their monthly active users became daily active users in less than 3 months. It was wild. But then something happened, which in my opinion, everyone had foreseen coming but wasn't prepared for. COVID went away, so did the numbers. The market started correcting itself, and now everyone is left looming with the million-dollar question: is edtech the golden goose or just another bubble? 56% of India's top founders called it an overhyped space, but I have a contrary stance. The market opportunity in edtech has been misunderstood, misjudged. There is a segment that's overlooked and it's brimming with potential. This is where you don't just enter the market, you create it. Today I'm going to decode the Bloom Ventures EdTech report. Bloom is one of India's leading venture funds. The real story of India's education is just beginning. Stay with me till the end because this isn't another documentary about Baiju's fall or EdTech layoffs. By the end of this, you will have a clearer view based on data and insights on what the future holds for India's EdTech potential. Welcome to Breakdown. As we delve into this report, it's very evident that COVID brought a massive shift in the industry. With the lockdown and subsequent closures of educational institutions, even the most technologically handicapped schools were compelled to go online. They had to pivot and they had to pivot fast. So COVID basically accelerated the adoption of technology in education, pushing everybody towards online learning. It's a bit like when Jio made the internet easy for everybody to get. Look at this Pune teacher and how she created this tripod. This is our Indian jugaad. It's a testament to our ability to adapt and make the best out of challenging situations, whether it's COVID or something else. So this shift to online learning created a massive opportunity for B2B edtech platforms. See, tools and services that supported online operations such as virtual classrooms, student management systems, online assessment platforms, they became very critical. And it's important to note that these tools were not just merely stopgap solutions. A whole new market opened up. And even after COVID came back, you have to realize that the user behavior had changed during COVID. So the teacher before who didn't know how to open a Zoom app now was technologically adept. So even after COVID, a lot of the learning, assessments, admin stuff could still happen online. Basically, the edtech sector is not reverting back to its pre-pandemic state, but is instead defining a new normal where we are seeing digital and traditional education coexist and complement each other. I'll tell you a key insight for all edtech founders here. So these hybrid models are basically emerging as long-term strategy where you blend offline core education with online support tools. This approach could very well be the blueprint for the future of education, and as a founder, I see a landscape rich with opportunities to innovate and grow. The next thing that happened in the last 3 years was lot of Indian edtech startups have not just gained traction domestically, but also captured international markets in America, Canada, and Middle East. Companies like Unacademy, Upgrad, they literally become household names, signaling that Indian edtech companies have global appeal. And I'll tell you what, this global traction has significant implications because think about it, right? It widens the market size for Indian edtech startups. Spaces that were considered niche have exploded onto a global stage, leading to an increased average revenue per user. As a founder or for somebody who wants to understand the space better, maximizing your average revenue per user in the context of global expansion can dramatically shift your company's revenue potential. Imagine this, okay? You can literally charge 5x the amount for the same product abroad as opposed to what you're charging in India. So you can literally double or triple your revenue through this. Now, there was one more pivotal event in the last 3 years which took India's edtech story to scale. It was the massive edtech crash happening in China. A lot of people in China didn't want kids because they couldn't afford sending their kids to school because that's how expensive and predatory edtech became in China. As a result of this, the Chinese government was like, this needs to stop. So literally overnight, they banned private tutoring, which wiped away billions of dollars of wealth. Now, this shift in China's edtech landscape had a ripple effect on India. Investors who were looking to park their funds turned to India. Because India's edtech scene was booming, it emerged as a prime candidate, which led to a massive increase in foreign investment in the Indian market. Basically, all these chain of events led to a massive boom in edtech. But we know what happened after. COVID went away and offline bounced back with a vengeance, where companies are still trying to crack this hybrid model. What essentially happened was, a lot of these startups that started during the pandemic had pandemic market fit and not true product market fit. Products that otherwise wouldn't have managed to get PMF started seeing great traction, but eventually the market corrected itself. As Ajit Bhai rightly says, this growth was not backed by genuine demand. A large number of the audience were tourists who moved back once the pandemic ceased. And then there was trouble. Lots of trouble, but also lots of learnings for us to understand this space better and figure where the true actual opportunity in EdTech lies. Now, I want to bring you few main insights that you can take away from this. Starting with the elephant in the room, customer acquisition cost or CAC. In the race to grab market share, many of us have witnessed our marketing budgets balloon like anything when we chase these users. Companies had raised a lot of capital, and we know that with capital comes pressure, the pressure to show rapid growth. So every company wanted to blitzscale and win the market. Now, what's the best way to reach consumers? Ads. So companies ran ads like anything. Imagine everyone spending thousands of dollars on ads to win the attention of this one consumer. You have to keep spending more to be more in their face. So the acquisition costs kept going higher and higher. And think about the smaller edtech players, right? Who didn't have these insane budgets. They blew all their money on ad spends. I know founders who spend literally 60 to 70% of their revenue just on acquiring consumers, which is wild. There's a very critical learning here that you can't play the ads game alone anymore. If you want to build a sustainable business, you need more sustainable growth strategies that focus on organic growth and customer retention rather than solely relying on paid ads. Now, one more thing happened during this pandemic. The edtech sector had basically become one of the hottest employing markets, drawing in really good talent with the promise of rapid growth. However, once there was slowdown and jobs became more uncertain, a lot of this talent started leaving and companies could not pay this high fee to this talent anymore. So you have to realize one thing, okay? If you don't cultivate a strong company culture that attracts talent by offering them more than just salaries, where employees feel like their work contributes to something more, it'll be too tough to retain the talent. See, the next company that raises money can offer better salary and this talent will go there. And I think we all know this, that at the end of the day, it is good talent that literally makes or breaks a company. Actually, not just this. There is one more thing that can make your startup successful or can make you fall hard on your face. It's your consumers. So during the pandemic, whilst founders were trying to scale their companies by acquiring more consumers, nobody was thinking about how do we keep these students happy? How do we retain this customer longer? So customer retention, their lifetime value suffered, and a lot of these customers who went to these companies for their services left super unhappy because their expectations were not met. This is extremely crucial for us because when we do our cohorts at AV, we know that customer is king. If you want them to trust you, you have to give them outcomes, you have to give them good experience. These things should be non-questionable. If you don't care about your consumers, you're going to fall hard. Your net promoter score, that is basically, is the student going to recommend your course to other people, will be close to zero. But the problem is, edtechs forgot this. Rather, a lot of them still don't focus on it and they still suffer. Now, there's one more thing I want you to know if you are somebody who's looking to raise funds in this sector, that during the pandemic, all the biggest funds, investors already invested in edtech and took their bets in the edtech mammoths we see today. So a lot of them now are not actively taking more bets. So the funding has slowed down significantly. If you still want to raise money in this environment, you need a strong value proposition and demonstrate some unique traction to attract this investment. Otherwise, as of now, it's very tough to bag funding. Now, these were the issues that came about in edtech in last few years. But it is because of these issues, our understanding, our strategy, and indeed our very matrix for evaluating success and plotting growth have undergone a massive shift. The way we view edtech now has changed, and I want to show you the edtech matrix by Bloom. That'll give you a perspective on what's the correct way to approach an edtech company today. So, first and foremost, let's talk about the pivot from traditional revenue model to a motivation-centered approach. I'll tell you what that means. So the Bloom EdTech report says that it's not about whether your model is B2B or B2C, but rather about what drives the end consumer. Is it acing an entrance exam? Is it landing a job? Is it finding a new mentor? This motivation-driven lens forces us to reevaluate our offerings and ask us, are our offerings really aligning with what motivates our learners? Because what you need to realize here is, it's their motivations that will dictate not just how much they're willing to pay, but how they engage with your platform and for how long. For example, think about two students, okay? One of them goes to their parent saying, I want to buy a 10,000 rupees public speaking course. The second kid goes to their parents and says, I want to buy a 10,000 rupees coding course. Which of these kids is going to find it easier to convince their parent? It's obviously the one asking for coding, because parents see an immediate return there. They think that if my kid will learn coding, he can have a better future, so they will shell out that 10,000 in no time versus the public speaking course. The second thing was the expanded user palette. The narrative here isn't just about numbers, but about stories. See, every user brings a different perspective, a unique set of goals, and a personal context. Now, what we've realized is that the market is actually much broader than traditional reports suggested. In EdTech, like I said before, you can literally create your own market, which is an insane opportunity. If you can serve today's learners relevant skills, 21st century skills that they want, you will create your own market. And that is exactly what I did with my startup, video editing. Yes, the market is not very large. I may not be able to build $1 billion business out of it, but we solved a problem. We imparted a skill, got people jobs, and created a new market. It's not just this space that's brimming with opportunity. If you look at catalysts of education, there are entities which are basically entities that are not directly teaching, but are still pivotal to education sector. The companies that are basically providing the infrastructure, the tools, the platforms, the enablers, these businesses are also redefining what it means to be a part of the edtech ecosystem. They're expanding the definition well beyond the content delivery, and in fact, 1-2 unicorns have even come out of this space. So as we further deep dive into how edtech stacks up, there are 3 more axes that you need to look at. That's the age group served, the core job to be done, and the paying customer persona. It is very crucial to recognize who's actually footing the bill. Is it the student? Is it their parents? Is it the schools? Or is it the employers? See, each of these parties has very different expectations and measuring sticks for success. So you need to identify correctly who the end buyer is. Now, combining all these insights, Bloom came up with this edtech matrix, and this matrix isn't just a snapshot of the current market, it's a guide to where the market is heading, what the current trends are, understanding user motivations, and basically helping you create products that resonate with these needs. In this matrix, you can also see the crowded spaces, that's the red oceans of intense competition, and the blue oceans where large opportunities still exist. For anybody who wants to build something in this space, my advice is to find those blue oceans within the edtech ecosystem, look for underserved niches, or you can create new intersections of demand that all these big companies have overlooked. So whether you're enhancing the core learning experience for the student or enriching supplemental learning journeys, that's test preps or co-curriculars, or you're empowering the catalyst of education, your mission should be to build solutions that resonate with the evolving needs of learners and educators alike. And honestly, trust me, there are an insane number of problems in this space to be solved, but not too many people are solving them. Or even if they are, they're taking the wrong approach. Think about it, okay? If you find an underserved market, you find a niche, your product finds PMF there, then you can take this product overseas, because COVID has shown us how large the TAM is. You know, the now expected total global edtech expenditure is going to reach $404 billion by 2025. So the opportunities are insane. There are a lot of underserved markets, and let me quickly break these down one by one for you. So I want to start in the space where my company AV operates in, and which I have majority insights about. That's basically upskilling, and you can see it here on the matrix. The market size for vertical upskilling presents a substantial opportunity, as there's a growing demand for a lot of specialized skills in various sectors such as finance, healthcare, and many more. All of these opportunities can create their own market. One thing that you need to understand about the space and the people operating in this space is that these students, these people, are not just looking for any education. They are seeking targeted upskilling that can directly either enhance their career prospects or enable a transition into new roles. So the best way to venture into a niche here is by either capitalizing on a gap in the existing market, or you create a new demand. In the case of my company, AV, we recognize that the digital world is increasingly content-driven, with a high demand for skilled video editors who can craft compelling narratives and who also understand a little bit of YouTube and the social media platforms. However, until AV came into the picture, there was no streamlined pathway that guided these individuals into this career, coupled with a matching service that directly connected them to potential employers. So you see, we not only just created editors, we cultivated a whole community and an ecosystem where talent and opportunity meet. This exact approach, in fact, can be replicated in countless niches where there's latent talent waiting to be nurtured and a market need that's not being fully met. You just need to be the playmaker here. And this is exactly what we solve for. Think about it, okay? I want to hire a lot of business development folk. Where do I get them from? There's a lot of shortage of nurses in plenty hospitals in India. Where can you train these folks? So there are a lot of niches that you can identify where there's a gap and your company can fill this gap. Along with this, what I've realized is it's also crucial to have the foresight to see not just where the current niche is or the current market is, but also where it's going. And this involves understanding the nuances of the skills you'll teach, the industry you're serving, and the aspirations of the learners you target. Along with this, it's also vital to know that what is it that really drives purchase decisions in this space. It's the aspiration for career mobility, the competitive edge, and market signaling that their student has the latest, most relevant skills. Employers too, in fact, are a part of this narrative. I'll tell you some metrics and strategies that have worked for us and some similar companies in this space. First and foremost is metrics like placement. Placement rates and outcomes are extremely important. We had a lot of AV copies come up immediately after we started our cohorts, but what they didn't realize was it's not about the teaching, it's not about the course, it's about getting these students actual job. That's what the kids want. So remember, whatever you start, you need to provide clear outcomes to these students. Secondly, if you can productize your courses, it'll be much easier for you to scale. We haven't done this yet, but companies who are looking to scale quick, this will work well for you. Thirdly, acquiring students at low cost is key. In this space, you have a bit of an edge because the intent is higher among students and there's less clutter. So the CAC is usually significantly lower, but you also need to focus on building organic channels of acquisition. Now, along with all of this that I've pointed out, if you're able to bring in the community aspect as well here, that's basically the network, students meeting and spending time with each other, you are golden. So to sum it up in a line, outcome-focused upskilling combined with community is what works well in this space. Now let's look at another space where there are a lot of opportunities. There's basically supplemental learning for all kids going to school. If you look at the market now, there's a progression from foundational learning in kindergarten to development of co-curricular skills like coding, public speaking in middle school. And these skills have become very essential in digital first world. So the transition from extracurricular activities to life skills that are CV worthy marks a significant shift and a massive opportunity. So I was speaking to some founders in this space and they were telling me how parents now really value global exposure and learning, and they're willing to spend that extra buck to get their child that exposure. So if you want to build in this space, here are a few things that have worked. First is enabling discovery through performance marketing, that's your paid ads, building trust via customer reviews, this is very, very important, and solving for aspiration by sharing unique experiences, getting their kids exposure, telling these parents what is it that the kid is learning from your course. And honestly, I see an immense opportunity in creating platforms that not only educate, but also nurture and shape the leaders of tomorrow. By fostering skills like creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, we can actually ensure that these students are not only prepared for the challenges ahead, but they're also capable of innovating solutions for the future. If you were to look at what drives the purchase decision in this space, it's usually FOMO or fear. Parents are constantly questioning that what is that other child learning? What if my child gets left behind? Is my child doing enough? So startups tapping into these emotions are able to sell their services and products better. Now with parents wanting this exposure for their children, there's one more opportunity in a core challenge that Indian parents face. That is, how do they fund this education now? The market size for this space is 140 million for school financing and 170 million for college financing. So seeing these numbers, it's evident that there's significant demand for good and reliable financial solutions in the education sector. And the best way to reach out to these parents and provide these solutions is by directly partnering with schools or companies that are reaching out to students. Now let's look at the next segment, that's basically pre-kindergarten and all kids under the age of 8. The focus has now shifted a lot to behavioral, personality development, reading, awareness, and nurturing social skills. If you look at a lot of millennial parents now, right, they want their kids to be emotionally intelligent, they want their kids to have life skills. So there's a massive opportunity for companies here that don't just teach children the basics like languages and numbers, but skills which can mold a child's ability to manage emotions, spark curiosity, and develop necessary social skills. This is where the playbook of a company like Big Fat Phoenix Interactive, which basically builds video games to help children with social emotional learning and development, becomes very relevant. Let's look at what drives purchase decisions here. It's usually stress, aspirations, guilt, and fear, which are powerful motivators for parents. So again, if you can address these emotional triggers through your product's marketing and features, you can significantly increase engagement and sales. Also, one more thing that's very important in this space is enabling discovery through word of mouth. Word of mouth works the best for these kind of startups. setups. Along with this, it's also very important to build trust through customer reviews. The second opportunity for this group is we're basically seeing a very clear trend towards daycare and preschool services. These have become extremely sought after, especially with both the parents working often in nuclear family setups. The demand for quality daycare services that provide more than just supervision is on the rise. The emotional drivers of purchase decisions like anxiety, guilt, desire for convenience resonate deeply among all parents here. In fact, one strategy that works very well here is corporate-led GTM, where employers play a very big role in the distribution and even funding of daycare services. This was particularly interesting to me, and a lot of new startups coming up in this space can leverage this, especially in urban areas where companies might be willing to partner as part of their employee benefits program. Now, here also hybrid engagement models that mix online and offline experiences work very well because they align very well with the current needs for flexible solutions that adapt to parents' work from home scenarios as well as need for physical interaction. The importance of trust built through social proof and endorsement from within one's community cannot be overlooked here. It is literally the most important tool for growth and retention. So, wrapping up our deep dive into the edtech landscape, it is very clear that the possibilities are endless. See, I don't want you to look at this report as just a bunch of facts and figures. This is a roadmap for anyone who wants to understand this space better. It's created for newcomers figuring out where to start, for entrepreneurs scouting for inspiration, and for anyone in between. You want to know which companies are making moves or where to bring your own ideas to life? Keep this video handy. It's packed with clues and directions for your next big venture. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button and share this with your network. Your support is what keeps these insights coming. Breakdown is all about unearthing new opportunities and guiding you to them. And trust me, this is just the beginning. Stay with us and I'll see you next time where we uncover the potential in other industries, showing you where and how you can leap into the future. My name is Achina Maya. Thank you for watching.